Good morning, good afternoon. Hope everyone is having a great day, enjoying this Lenten season. We're going to get started with the next section of our Lenten devotion series. So before we get started, wanted to share some fun facts about Lent. So Lent actually originates from a word that means rebirth. And if you look at the historical churches that were initially came up in olden times, was Lent was actually a time that they used to share the word of God with non-believers and actually use this as an opportunity to share the sacrifices of Jesus to the world, and would actually at the end of it would bring folks as well as non-believers into the church and baptize them and become full members of the church. So I think it is a great opportunity for all of us to share the word of Christ as well as share his sacrifices so that the world knows of his greatness. So just another thing to think about during this Lenten season. So let's get started with our verses. So it's Isaiah chapter 9, 2-6. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has been dawned. You have enlarged the nations and increased their joy, and rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunder. For as in the days of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressors. Every warrior's boot used in battle, and every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, which will be the fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. So this section has a lot of symbolism as well as different things that represents. So wanted to start off by mentioning, hey, the land of deep darkness, right? The world is consumed by darkness because there is no light, right? So if you look at it scientifically, right, darkness is actually a state where there's an absence of light. And in this similar situation, the world did not have Jesus, so it was consumed by darkness. And this light was given to all of us during this Lenten season to actually spread to the world as well as embrace ourselves. Then I also want to talk about in verse 3, they say, the people rejoice at the harvest as the warriors rejoice when dividing their plunder. So if you look at during this time, it was when folks primarily worked either as farmers or as warriors. Those were two large professions during this time. And the light that was given to them made them rejoice like this, right? So if you look at it, when people have their harvest, they've worked tirelessly for years and they finally got to see the fruit of their labor, right? Or a warrior has sacrificed his friends, his folks that are around him, and at the very end, after he's won the battle, he gets something in return. So it's the ultimate joy that a person can have on earth, right? That was how impactful that this light, as well as what represents Jesus, was to these folks during this time. Also mentions about Midian's defeat in verse 4, right? Midian's defeat is a huge foreshadow, or not foreshadow, it symbolizes one of the dark times of the Israelites in the past, in that they were enslaved for their sins. And God actually used Gideon, right, as a symbol to take on Midian and beat the Midianites, right? And the crazy part of us, Gideon was not the most qualified person during that time, right? He took one that had faults, was not the best, the cream of the crop. He took to show God's greatness as well as to show the world of how he's able to use anyone to basically defeat a great evil, which was the Midianites, right? And that is a huge portion in that even though we may not be the most qualified, most educated, most everything, God still uses you to spread the word as well as use you to further God's kingdom. So it's an important part of this message as well, or this section of our reading for today. Another thing that we mentioned is towards the end, it mentions the government will be on his shoulders, right? Growing up as a kid, right, or a little kid, hey, when you can't see anything, right? You don't know what to do. One of the only ways that you can actually see anybody is if somebody holds you up, right? or you're on somebody's shoulder. And in a similar way, you can see here that God, or that Jesus, lifts folks that have accepted him as well as embraced him to basically be on top of his shoulders, right? It allows him, that he says, like common institutions like the government and other folks will be able to see and truly see the greatness of all that is around them. And that's one of the biggest things that you can notice here from this verse as well. So I hope that you guys are having a great day, and we use this opportunity to spread the light that is given to us, and spread and give and truly embrace the our Martha mantra of spreading lighten to lighten. Hope everyone has a great day, and God bless.